Welcome back to the Monkey Table. Happy New Year! Hope 2026 is treating you guys well so far. Hope you guys are sticking to your New Year's resolutions. I know I'm not. I don't even set them because I know I'm not gonna follow them. But anyway, so Avatar 3 came out last year in cinemas, and obviously we had a lot of new storylines, some new characters, including this badass bitch. Like many people, I really liked VARANG because she's a really cool character. She's badass, she's a crazy ass bitch, but like she's also really unique and original. She's like a breath of fresh air in the franchise. And of course, I could not resist trying to make a doll of her because her design is so cool. And obviously I had to use a Monster High doll to make this custom because their bodies are perfect for Na'vi dolls. Now I spent some time researching which head to best use for the doll because VARANG has really unique features which not all Monster High dolls have. Like her lips are a bit smaller than the usual Monster High doll, and just the shape of her face as well is not as round as most of them have it. And I decided ultimately to go with Posea Reef's head because I felt like her face was most similar in features to VARANG's, and I just thought it would suit her best. I might try some other heads in the future because I am planning on making more dolls of VARANG, especially in her final battle outfit, but we'll see. In the meantime, here's me getting gunk out of the doll in preparation for the shrinking because Monster High dolls are like 90% glue and hair, so it's super fun. And I'm also removing her face paint as usual. A lot of people say when you're shrinking doll heads in acetone you don't need to remove the factory paint, but I'm just used to it and feels really satisfying to me, so I'm gonna do it anyway. And I also cut off the ears of the original doll so I can make the Na'vi ears later. By the way guys, I am a terrible role model because that is not the way you hold a sharp knife when you're cutting something. Never hold a knife towards you or your hands. Hold it away from your hands. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm a bad role model. Please don't be like me, guys. And now that the head is more or less done, it's time for the acetone bath. So one of the things I don't really like about Monster High heads is that they're very big. And for this custom in particular, the head needs to be smaller because Na'vi don't have huge heads. They are tall, they have lanky bodies, but they don't have big ass ginormous Monster High heads. And because for me, when I do customs, accuracy is the most important thing, I knew straight away I would have to shrink the head to make it a bit smaller. And the way to achieve this is by soaking the doll in a solution of acetone and water. The head is left in the solution for 2 days and then dried for 2 days as well, so it shrinks down to a more proportionate size. The thing is, I didn't really have enough time because I was leaving on holidays when I was making this doll, and so I soaked it for 2 hours instead of 2 days. In any case, more on that later. In the meantime, I started working on the body and the hands, and I decided to use Abby's hands because I feel like they're most similar to Na'vi hands than the usual Monster High slender arms and hands. And to make it more accurate, I cut off the extra finger, of course. I also cut off the nails because Na'vi hands don't really have big nails or claws, so they weren't needed. And for the body, I used a big sister body type because it's a bit taller than the average Monster High doll, and I want them as tall as possible just to make it more Na'vi-esque. I made her scars using glue drops, and I airbrushed the body with blue paint, but unfortunately I fucking lost the process video of that, so thank you very much iPhone, but I'm sorry guys, I can't show you that. But it was lit, trust. And for the tail, I used the tail from Persephone or Melody? I'm not sure, it was one of the cat dolls. I basically just took the tail, cut off a bit of the tip because it was a bit too long for me, and then using a knife I carefully cut a hole into the back of the doll body and just stuck the tail in. And now I just paint on the stripes, which I'm going to carefully airbrush with white paint later on. I want the stripes to remain visible in some places because like if you look at VARANG's design, you can see that she's not naturally pale. It's just ash on her body, and you can see stripes in blue in some places. And I want to recreate the same look on the doll. After airbrushing the body, I apply also some white paint on top using a very briskly dried brush to get that kind of paint effect, as if somebody painted the paint onto her body. I decided to do it this way to have like the bottom layer a bit of an airbrushed white, and then to add some white paint on top as well, just to make it a bit more 3D and to make it a bit more like in the movie. And I also quickly airbrushed her legs black and her arms red, just like in the film. And I decided to add an extra layer of red paint on top of her hands just to make it seem more like it was painted on, you know, and just to make it seem a bit more like the movie, because I felt like the airbrush layer was good, but it wasn't enough. Honestly, applying the makeup, especially the stripes, was one of my favorite parts of the repaint. I don't know, they're just I just like them. I find them neat and like, I find them really fun to do, so it was very fun making them. I also made the tip of her fingers black, like in the scene where she like puts flame on her hands and scares the shit out of a high court in the tent, because I just found that scene really cool and I really like the element of the design, the hand looking like that. Also, did you guys know she has back tattoos? Like, my girl's design is cool as fuck. I'm also kind of wondering if the tattoos have any meaning. I'd be curious to find out if they do in like part 4 or 5. And this part of the doll was a very contradictory element for me, because I wasn't really sure if her tail was too long or good enough, but in the end I decided to cut off some of it because I wasn't happy with the length. And to make the tip of the tail, I just used some wool, which I brushed out and then glued it onto the tail. And obviously I had to include Varang's eye tattoo, like it's so cool, and I just live for, you know, tiny details like this. I'm all about tiny details and miniatures, I just love it. The more tiny the detail is, the more I enjoy doing it. Making this tattoo was so fun. And this is her finished body. You can see I've tried to faithfully recreate all her scars, her tattoo, also the paint on her arms and the stripe and the leg paint and the tail. Honestly, for the amount of detail involved, I can't say that it was super difficult making the body, and I found the process really enjoyable. And like I mentioned, some details like her eye tattoo were just so fun to make, and I really liked working on the body. Now let's start with the outfit, and first of all we're gonna work on the boob too, because my girl Varang is a bad bitch. You know, she shouldn't have been on Pandora watching her village being burned down. She should have been at the club, and her outfit reflects that. And for the boob tube, I just used like 2 pieces of cloth onto which I glued these strands of fabric onto, and then I also added some more cloth on top for it to be able to shut. And of course we couldn't forget the titty stick, so I used epoxy clay to make the titty stick, and then I carefully painted the titty stick, and I tried my best to make it look as movie accurate as possible. And here's the finished boob tube, and of course we can't forget the titty stick, so let's put it in as well. Pause on that, and here we go. I also made her bracelets by applying epoxy clay into her hands, and of course, after I finished the body, I found out she has scars on her back as well. So of course I had to add them, because everything I do has to be accurate, but now you can see how the process worked with the scars. I applied the glue drops really carefully, and then just painted over. And now it's time for the skirt, the loincloth. When I published my YouTube short of making Varang's outfit, half of the comments were flaming me for not knowing that it was a loincloth. I'm sorry guys, like burn me at the stake or something. Okay, it's a fucking anyway, I started making the doll before the movie actually released, so the only sources of reference I had were pictures from the trailer. And I really thought Varang was going around with her whole Varangosi out with a big ass slit in front of her loincloth, but when the final pictures of the outfits released a few months later, I realized not. But it was too late, because I had already cut a big slit in my loincloth, and I was like, well, you know what, it kind of looks better like that, so I'm just gonna keep it that way. And to add all the little beads she has in the front, I just carefully sewed on some beads. I know they're not the exact same color as the one she has on her loincloth, but I think it actually looks cool like this as well. And of course I had to add her sick ass bone accessories. These were also super fun to make, and I really enjoyed making them. And to secure it, I basically tied it into this G-string pattern in the back. If you look at photos of Varang's ass, I guess, you can see that the way she ties her loincloth is kind of weird. I'm not hating though. Varang's a bad bitch. Like, she, of course, was running around Pandora. She was like, let me get some of my juicy couture. So when my man hits up the village, he's gonna be like, hey, baby girl, let me smash. I'll be like, wait, hold up. First I want some RPGs, the big ass guns, and the flamethrowers. Then we can talk. And he's gonna be like, alright, baby girl, bet. And then he's gonna come through with the weapons like, hey, baby girl, let me hit. I'm gonna be like, sure, psych, bitch, you thought. Get your colonizing ass out of here. And then she's gonna team up with Neytiri, because real recognize real. Neytiri's a bad bitch. And they're gonna take down the pink skins, because Varang's gonna realize that actually the humans are the bad guys, not Ava. And then Neytiri's gonna like divorce her bitch ass husband. He's gonna die from alcoholism, and Loki's gonna drown with his whale, and Tame's gonna come back to life and Spider and Kiri be like eaten by a Tanator or some shit. I mean, that's how the story would probably end if I wrote it. Maybe James Cameron should hire me to write Avatar 4 and 5, because, like, I'm telling you guys, I have a solid plotline set up here. Nah, I'm just joking, guys. But it would be funny to imagine it that way. And now that the outfit is finished, let's open our acetone soup. So you can see the head has gotten bigger, pause, because this is normal when you soak dolls in acetone or acetone solutions. The head tends to get big and then shrink again, pause again. And I was honestly surprised to see how big the head got. Pause. Like, if you compare it to an ordinary Monster High doll, you can see the difference. Now again, because I was making this doll like right before I left for holidays and I wouldn't have access to any of my doll making equipment, I did a quick acetone soak of 2 hours. And instead of soaking it in diluted acetone, I soaked it in pure acetone. And you can see the result. The head shrunk, but not as much as I hoped, and some parts have been deformed. So yeah, I don't think I will try the quick shrinking method again because, you know, I can fix the deformities, but I would rather not have them in the first place. Anyway, live and learn. To make the head look a bit more like Warang and also to include the Navi features, I made the ears by sticking wire into the head and twisting it into the ear shape. And to make her earrings, I just added a metal loop into each ear and then used the epoxy clay to make the form of the earrings. Again, I was making this doll before the movie came out, so I had the trailer pictures as references, and she had like a really strange earring that looked like a piece of bone. I wasn't sure what it was, but I said to include it anyway, and I just cut a small piece of clay into the shape and just added it on later. And I also changed the shape of the nose a little bit by applying some epoxy clay and sculpting it into the more Navi nose shape, and I also sculpted some clay onto the top of her head just to make it a bit easier to make her bald patch. If I had left the head as it was, we would have seen the holes from the hair left there and it wouldn't look as nice. And now we spray paint the doll as usual, and it has this nice shade of blue. Of course, I had to include her facial scars, and again, I used the glue drop method, so I took super glue I had, and on the top, I put like a little airbrush top thingy. Okay, I just checked online. It's the airbrush nozzle cap, and the tip is very fine, pause, so the glue comes out in like small, accurate drops and makes it look very neat. And I know I probably shouldn't be doing this with my airbrush nozzle cap, but I did carefully remove the glue afterwards, so it should be good. And now I just started applying the ash paint that she has in these really interesting patterns. For some reason I decided to do the opposite of the body and apply the paint first and then airbrush some white onto her face. I don't know, I just felt like doing it this way and it worked out in the end, so happy days. Also, when painting on this doll's facial makeup, I noticed that the cheekbone pattern looks a bit like tears, which is a really nice nod to Varang's tragic origins, I guess. Speaking of which, it's a shame that the movie never really discussed Varang's origins that much. Like, there's more information in the visual encyclopedia than in the actual film itself. Like, I know they couldn't have fit everything into the movie because then it would have been like 10 hours long, but maybe if we focus less on the Quaritch, Spider, Jake, LOAK shenanigans and more on the native women, we would have had something a bit more interesting. Like, give me more of the Manquan, more of the Wind Traders, the Arctic clans, other Navi clans, more Navi. I mean, there's only so many times I can watch a movie about a white dude trying to get in touch with his spiritual side or shooting and blowing up shit before it gets boring. I mean, you can kind of argue that part 1 and 2 are the same thing essentially, a white guy trying to get in touch with his spiritual side and blowing shit up at the same time, but they were also showing the world and the Navi and the creatures and the different biospheres, which made it really interesting. And I feel that they kind of missed that in 3. It was just a bunch of fights and explosions and Quaritch and Spider and Jake and Spider and Jake and Quaritch and same 3 guys fighting each other all the time. Avatar, Fire and Ash. It should have been Avatar, the custody battle for Spider bitch ass. I'm sorry, but I low-key felt like Jake and Quaritch had more chemistry than Jake and Neytiri and Quaritch and Varang. Like, at this point, your man should just, like, marry your man and just call it day. Ultimately, I don't really understand why a movie about a fictional planet with cool alien creatures has to focus on basically 1 white guy and 2 adjacent white guys. I mean, and I feel that's what kind of made the movie a bit redundant for me. It was the same rehash of what we'd seen already in 1 and 2, and I don't know, I feel like if they just maybe showed more of the Na'vi, like more of the Wind Traders, more of the Manquan, like I want to know more about Pandora. I don't give a fuck about the humans. I feel like it would have been better. But anyway, we got what we got. I mean, I appreciate some of the new characters and the world building is cool, so let's see what Avatar 4 and 5 brings. Anyway, to make her hair, I used some yarn, which looked most like braids, and to make her plait, I glued on some hair I had from a previous project onto her scalp and just braided it into a plait. And of course I had to include her little headpiece and also the little bones in her plait, and I used as well clay epoxy to make them and just carefully painted them on before gluing them onto her head or sticking them carefully into her braid. To make her hair thingy necklace, which is apparently called a tahik necklace, I used 3 pieces of the yarn and glued them together before carefully using some epoxy clay to make the teeth and all the little accessories she has on the tahik necklace. Unfortunately, I didn't film this process because it was really nitpicky and I had to focus without the camera in my way, so sorry about that guys, but you can see the finished piece. I hope you like it. Now, to make her headpiece, I really wasn't too sure how to do it, but I had the basic idea of taking some wire and folding it into a circle before sticking some feathers onto it. And it turned out shit because I rushed it, and I rushed it because I was going on holiday, so I wanted to get it done, but it turned out really poorly. And I did change it when I came back from holidays, but before that I did the face, which is pure nightmare fuel at the moment. Funnily enough, despite the amount of details involved in this doll, I found the face to be the most challenging to do. I think it was because it was difficult to replicate the exact look of the character from the movie on a Monster High doll head, which has very different proportions. And as well as that, there was also the issue of symmetry. If you know me, I always struggle with one eye when I make a doll, and this doll was no different. The right eye almost killed me. I kept worrying that they were not symmetrical enough, and I kept coming back to change them, and at one point it was just an endless circle, but in the end I managed to settle on one result which I was happy with, and I just left it at that. And that's the reason why I was posting parts of this doll's process on my YouTube channel, and that's why I usually post my doll customizations in various parts. Because often when I'm done, for example with the body, I'm still finishing the outfit, and when I'm done with the outfit I'm still finishing the face. So when I publish part 1 I might still be working on the doll, and when I publish part 3 I might be finishing the doll. And posting in parts ensures I don't forget to finish the doll, that I'm also motivated to finish the doll, because if I were to just post the finished piece in one video, then I most likely would lose motivation halfway through. And I just wanted to say a big thank you guys for being so patient and understanding with me, especially since I did want to publish this doll last week, but I got a bit delayed. Basically, I had come back from holidays and realized that the doll needed some fixing up, and I started working on a new headpiece for her and also fixing her face a little bit. And one particular evening, after a day of customization work and eating a whole can of salt and vinegar Pringles, that's probably what did it by the way, I realized that the gum above my lower right wisdom tooth was feeling a bit sore. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess it happens sometimes. I'm just gonna clean my teeth really carefully and use some oral mouthwash and stuff, and it's gonna be okay. Nope. By next day, my gum had swollen so much I could not eat anything, and I couldn't even sleep. Guys, I was waking up in the middle of the night and pacing around in the bathroom from the pain because I couldn't sleep. You know those moments in life when you're in so much pain you have to get up, go to the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and just think about life because you're in so much pain. And the worst thing is, I left my home country quite recently, so I'm not really familiar with the dentist here. And the thing is, when you're pulling out wisdom tooth, you kind of want to go to a good dentist because otherwise they might fuck your whole shit up. So I was running all around town trying to find a good dentist before in the end I finally gave up and just ran to the one with the best reviews, and I was like, pull them teeth out quick, and he ripped them out of my skull. Your man was so arrogant as well. He was like, oh, I'm the dentist, I have 20 years experience. I tell you what to do, not you. I was like, okay. And when he was pulling my teeth out, like he was doing it so forcefully that my head was rising from the dentist chair, and he was like, oh, resist, fight back, fight back. I was like, bitch, pull the fucking tooth out. In the end, I had 2 teeth removed on the same side because both of them were affecting each other and I couldn't eat. I was put on antibiotics for a whole week because I had an infection there, and also lots of anti-inflammatory pills. Like, I was fucked up. And I also had to work a 9 to 6 at the same time. Like, I got 2 days sick leave the day after the operation because I was like, I can't do it, and they were really cool with that. But still, like, the other days I had to come in the office and work. And the thing is, like, with the wisdom teeth, like, it's true what they say, the lower ones take ages to recover from, and I was feeling unwell for the whole 2 weeks after the teeth got removed. Like, I was sitting in the office sweating, feeling feverish, feeling chills, feeling nauseous. I was unwell. And to make matters worse, bitches at work started trying me. And it wasn't a major issue, but it was an issue that had to be dealt with because I knew if I didn't deal with it, it would continue into the future. So I spent my week recovering from wisdom tooth removal, working 9 to 6, and also schooling bitches. So yeah, I had to move the doll upload dates a bit later, and thank you guys for being so understanding and so supportive. Like, I'm feeling so touched by all your messages of support and well wishes. I mean, it was amazing. And I'm happy to say I'm more or less recovered from the wisdom tooth removal surgery now. Thankfully, no dry sockets. Anybody who had wisdom teeth removed will know about the dry socket phobia. Those who don't, look it up. Bitches at work seem to have understood for now and have laid low. I'm assuming they're gonna come back later with more issues to try me, but I'm just gonna deal with it when we get to it, so no biggie. The important thing is that I made it through and I learned some valuable life lessons. So to anybody else who's also being pressured or pressed in school or work or any aspect of life, don't let other people bring you down. And sometimes it's difficult and it's tough, but keep fighting. Don't let the bashers grind you down. But anyway, back to the doll. So after I came back from holidays, I fixed her headpiece and I'm much happier with it now. Also fixed her face, and I also even made her accessories like the little knife. I didn't realize until after the movie came out that she actually just used it in one scene, so it wasn't even worth making, but I still find it really cute and I'm happy I did make it. And for her swords, which are apparently called bugong, I essentially took a piece of wire and coated it with some epoxy clay, which I then sculpted a bit to make it look more like the volcanic glass and painted over in red and black. And somebody in the comments suggested making her bow and arrow, which is actually such a super cool idea, so I decided, yes, I'm absolutely gonna make them. And essentially I did the same as for the bugong. I took a piece of wire and coated it with the epoxy clay to make the bow, and painted the bow later. Before adding a piece of string, I had to make the string part of the bow. And here is the finished doll. I finally reached the stage where I'm fully happy with how she looks, so I'm not going to touch her any further. A lot of people have said that her head is too big, and I do kind of agree. It did not shrink as much as I wanted to, but I'm going to do a second doll and shrink the head properly and then see if that makes a difference. I also am keen on making a doll of VARANG in her final battle outfit, which I think is going to look lit, so keep your eyes peeled. A lot of people have also been asking me to make some more avatar characters, and they are coming, I promise. I'm currently working on the second one, so feel free to guess which one's gonna be, but I'm hoping to post her around February. I've had a lot of people asking me about commissions, and I'm currently researching how to make them and do them in the process, so keep an eye out on my Instagram and YouTube. I will be posting an update on this soon, and I do plan on taking commissions. I just need to figure out the best way to do so, but they are definitely gonna happen in the future. Overall, I'm super happy with the doll, and despite the fact that it had so many details, it was actually not that difficult for me to do, which I found surprising, but still, I really loved all the tiny details and making them. It was great. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your support and kind words and love, guys. I'm really honored that you feel I am worth your time and you stick around despite my terrible jokes and my constant complaining. As always, if you like my work, feel free to check out my Instagram or to support me on Ko-fi, because doll customizing is pretty expensive, especially in today's economy. So as Tesco says, every little helps. Have a wonderful day, and until the next repaint!